Rise and shine, and welcome to a new episode of the ASOM experience. How amazing it is to be alive again today. And I've been extremely lucky and grateful to have amazing guests joining from all over the world. And you definitely are curious to know who is with us today. We're going to travel across the Atlantic and we're going to go all the way to Costa Rica to be with a very special person that I've met through an amazing professor when I was doing my studies in France. Just before jumping and revealing his identity, just want to first thank you, listeners, and people who are watching us, wherever you are connecting from, whatever you're doing, whether you're walking your dog or at the gym or cooking, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to share and connect with content in around different topics such as self-help, self-improvement, and we are happy to be doing that again today. So, further notice, let's jump and welcome with us an amazing person. He's been working on online projects, he's been traveling, living the nomad laptop life. He was in Canada and now he's based in Costa Rica and working around that area. He's working online with clients in digital marketing and other projects that he will share more and more with us. Please welcome with me, Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
Serge, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, Serge. I'm looking forward to add some value to your audience, and I'm just stoked to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Perfect, Andrew. Correct me if I said anything wrong. It's just like I'm still getting to know you. And every time I get to know you more, I get so happy and inspired with your stories. Like we've connected again a few weeks ago, and you were telling me about your adventures moving to Costa Rica and choosing this as your new home. So tell us your story and what brings you here today.
Yeah, well, I'd have to set the stage. I should probably back up to 2018. I was at what can only be described as rock bottom. I was in a very dark place. And you know how a lot of successful people will tell you that when it comes time to make a decision to burn the boats and basically cut off any backup plan. Many successful people talk about burning the boats. Well, I had the boats burned for me. I didn't do the burning, someone else did the burning. And I just had to, there was nowhere to go but up. And it's funny how perspective is everything in life. And at the time, I didn't know I was at rock bottom. At the time, I didn't realize that I was in a very dark place. I knew times were tough, but I didn't know how bad it was until looking back at that time in my life now and realizing, yep, that was rock bottom. So to further explain things to your viewers and listeners, I found myself in a toxic relationship, in a marriage that I desperately tried to make work with seeing a counselor. We would see a counselor on a regular basis, a pastor, and things just went from bad to worse. And without getting into all the gritty details, the only possible solution to move forward was for us to end the marriage. And that was the decision that I made, and I stand by that decision. And my life was in ruin. I found myself sleeping on an air mattress in the spare bedroom of a friend, because it's the only place I could find at such short notice. And I consider myself the world's biggest failure. You know, when you're at a stage in life where you just feel like, no, you can't do anything right. You feel like you're at your wit's end. You can't help but feel like you're the world's biggest loser. And I was working in a remote position for an American tech startup company at the time. Only the second time in my life I'd been working remotely, so that was something that I was still adjusting to. This is late 2018, so this is well before COVID, and remote working is where it is today. And so I had I don't know what to call it, like a eureka moment where I was laying in bed. I was probably on that air mattress for about 3 weeks, and I was staring at the ceiling. And I had a eureka moment when I realized, why am I in the most expensive city in the country? Because at the time I was living in Vancouver. And for your viewers and listeners who have never been to Vancouver, Vancouver is easily one of the most expensive places in the world to live. It's almost always the second highest real estate market in the world, right behind Hong Kong. And that just forces the cost of living to be just astronomical. And, you know, the saying, living paycheck to paycheck, well, people in Vancouver typically live credit card to credit card. And so I found myself newly separated, like getting divorced, left my ex with everything. She kept everything. And because I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I had nowhere to put things, and I certainly didn't have a truck to move things. So I decided to sell my car. I gave things away. I donated things to charity, and put the bare essentials, the things that I couldn't bear to part with, like my grandmother's Christmas decorations, things like that, into a storage locker. And I booked a one-way flight, and I haven't been back since. And I've been living the digital nomadic lifestyle, the laptop lifestyle, ever since that point. Well, the flight was in December 2018, and I've been on the go ever since. 2019 was an amazing year for me. It was a journey of becoming a new version of myself, a better version of myself. I lived in Canada, the US, Mexico, Spain, and England. And I was able to refine the remote working digital nomadic lifestyle in that way. I was not only was I able to reduce my living expenses by leaving such an expensive city, I found a way to reduce my expenses to near zero levels. And that might be shocking to your viewers, but when you're cornered, when you're in a tough spot, it's amazing how resilient the human mind really is to solving your problems. And ultimately, I came to my senses and realized that there's only 3 ways anyone can improve their financial situation in life. You can either increase your income, reduce your expenses, or do both. I chose the third option. I chose to do both. And one of those ways I was able to reduce my expenses, and one of the reasons why I was able to travel all over the world and live an amazing quality of life while saving a whole bunch of money, was because I became a house sitter. I joined a platform called trustedhousesitters.com. Works like Airbnb. You can leave a review for the host, and the host can leave a review for you. And I was traveling the world, staying in people's homes while they were on vacations or while they were traveling, and taking care of their fur babies and all the rest of it. And it turned into an amazing way to travel the world and live the digital nomadic laptop lifestyle I was after, while bringing value to someone. And then 2020 hits, and I had just relocated from London, living in London, England for a while, and relocated up to Dalkeith, Scotland, a town just south of Edinburgh. And I was only doing a house sit for about a week when COVID hit and shut down the entire world, and the whole world lost its mind. And then the hosts were forced to return home early. They were at their vacation property on Cyprus, and by some luck, they managed to jump on the last flight off of the island, which they were very pleased to achieve, because they weren't sure how long they were going to get stuck on that island if they didn't make it on that flight. So they returned home, and then I chose to shelter in place with my at the time girlfriend and her family, because she's Scottish and her family was on the west coast of Scotland. We decided to shelter in place, which is a technique that I learned in the fire department years ago. I was a firefighter, and whenever things got bad, we were always taught to shelter in place. And it was a very scary time in the world. No one knew what was going to happen next. And I knew I was in a very beautiful, very safe country where I had drinkable water right out of the tap. And I thought, I'm going to stay put right here in Scotland, until my hand was forced and my passport was about to expire and I couldn't renew it in the UK, even though normally Canadians can renew their passports in the UK. The government officials I stayed in touch with were wonderful. They understood that we were in a black swan event and they tried to working with me with all kinds of different options, until finally the decision was mine to return to Canada. And I returned to Canada for only a little less than a year to renew my passport and get a couple shots of vaccination. And then I said, enough is enough. I need to spread my wings. Let's just be honest. Okay. I couldn't do another cold winter after doing a cold winter in London. And then in the year before that, during a cold year of winter in London, then a cold winter in Canada, I couldn't do another one. And so I went over my options as far as countries to visit and go to next. And I settled on Costa Rica. And if you want to dive deeper in that, I can explain why, but I figured I'll probably stop there and let you drive the conversation. But that's a little background on me. I was at my lowest point in life, and becoming a digital nomad helped me address so many pain points and help solve so many difficult problems and challenges and obstacles. I didn't seek out a digital nomadic lifestyle. It sought me out.
Yes.
I was able to solve so many aspects of so many problems that I was struggling with just by shifting my lifestyle. And it was an incredible change. And I will forever be grateful that I had the courage to do that when I had the chance.
100%. Andrew, your story is truly astounding. And I must say, like, I'm inspired. I'm sure the listeners and people who are watching, I hope you guys are taking notes, just whatever like really inspires you and maybe resonates in a way or another. Andrew, you've spoken about burning boats or getting boats burned. You've spoken about the nomadic life. Talking about burning boats, that's an interesting one because, as you said, many advise or they say, yeah, just burn the boats and start from scratch, or just go on that crazy adventure and start from zero. How did this change today given the current worldwide circumstance, and truly with also COVID and the pandemic and the restrictions? Do you feel like burning boats is still an option, or what is the better approach around that, do you think?
Yeah, the burning the boats approach can be risky. It can be, but it certainly forces you to expand your comfort zone and knowing that you don't have a plan B, knowing that you have to go all in on whatever strategy, whatever approach that you're shifting gears towards. It has to succeed. It has to. There's no option to fail. So it's a powerful tool, and I wouldn't suggest it in every situation and under every circumstance, because there are certainly times where probably someone could be a little bit unresponsible, or I should say irresponsible with deploying that strategy. But then speaking specifically to the digital nomadic lifestyle, I had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
And nobody did. Nobody knew that COVID was going to happen. And 2019 was a pivotal year for me because I was able to perfect the digital nomadic lifestyle and really refine that lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, my skills in the marketplace did this as far as the value that I bring to the marketplace, because I know how to bring value in a remote virtual capacity. At one point in time, remote working was very taboo. It was like, oh, you work from home.
Right.
It wasn't really sought after. It wasn't looked at the same way. Much like before COVID, it was normal to shake hands, to greet someone and say hello.
Correct.
Now, like, you would be offended if someone didn't take your hand to shake your hands, but now you're offended if someone tries to shake your hands. Correct. Right? It's amazing. It's amazing how so many things have shifted and how COVID has changed the world that we live in today. Well, one of the things that COVID did to businesses is the fact that business owners and entrepreneurs who hire, could be employees, freelancers, consultants, I don't care how you structure your team. The COVID taught us that if you don't have a portion of your team as remote professionals, or hopefully your entire team is remote professionals, then you weren't resilient in the marketplace. If you were a location-based business and with staff members that had to be location-based, and I mean, I'm not naive, there's always going to be certain business use cases that require people to be location-based. Hospitals, for example, obviously you can't do everything health-wise virtually. However, if that isn't your situation, if you don't have to have your employees come into an office, now COVID taught all of us that you do not have a resilient business model, because a government can come around the corner and shut you down for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So my question to every entrepreneur and business owner out there is like, what's your strategy? What's your plan to deal with being shut down by the government for 2 or 3 months? I don't know. Well, then, should you really be in that business, or should you put your head down and really focus on making your business more resilient by at least having a portion of your workforce working remotely, hiring some digital nomads or some remote workers, people working from home? Because there's always people that would rather work from home because maybe they have a sick relative that they need to care for, or an injured loved one that they need to care for, or pets that they can't bear to part with, or name any one of the laundry list of reasons of benefits of why people want to work from home. You don't have to be a digital nomad to work remotely. You could just be a remote worker, work from home because there's a loved one that you need to take care of, that you're the caregiver for, and you can bring value to an employer, but you need to do it virtually from home. So not only is the employer going to be much more resilient in the marketplace the next time the government shuts down, the next time there's an epidemic or pandemic, the next time there's a natural disaster, the next time there's political or civil unrest. I can go on and on and on. 2019 was my training ground, a year that taught me to bring value to the marketplace in a virtual way, which allowed me to show up in 2020 and 2021 in a way that location-based professionals were too scared or not knowledgeable or didn't have the experience or didn't know how to do, didn't know password management or didn't know how to plan their day in a way that makes them the most optimized and most efficient possible, or didn't know all the tricks that remote workers know. And then finally, digital nomads. Speaking to digital nomads, I gotta mention this. Being a digital nomad, there's certain things in life that you can't learn in an online course or in a book or like at a school. You just can't. Being a digital nomad has taught me to be resilient and to be a problem solver. Okay, because I can get off of a plane or go into a house sit or go into an Airbnb or go to whatever the situation is in a brand new country, and I'm constantly adjusting to new environments. I'm constantly overcoming obstacles and challenges. I'm constantly trying to find solutions to problems. That has wired my brain in such a way so that now professionally, when I come across a problem, my immediate instinct is to, how do we figure this out? Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. Because digital nomads are normally doing this on their day-to-day personal lives. They naturally bring it into their professional lives. And if you're an employer, if you hire out work to employees, contractors, freelancers, you're constantly on the lookout for people who are problem solvers, because when they run against a problem, the last thing you hired them to fill a need, to make you more valuable on the day-to-day operations of whatever your business is. You want people that are problem solvers. You don't want them stopping in their tracks and saying, Mr. or Mrs., I can't figure this out. I have a problem. You want them to figure out those problems. I'm speaking to you from personal experience. Digital nomads are just they're natural problem solvers, because they naturally put themselves in uncomfortable situations and environments on their day-to-day personal lives. So if you hire a digital nomad, chances are you're going to be hiring a much more proficient person to fill that role, because they're already accustomed to solving problems without, running it into an obstacle and just throwing up their hands going, oh, I don't know what to do. No, they're going to figure it out. And then they're just going to tell you, oh yeah, last week I ran across a problem and I Googled it and I saw a YouTube video or blah, 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 whatever. And I found the solution. Here you go. Here. And then the boss, the employer, the entrepreneur is going to go, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, let's teach that to the other team members too, so that they learn that trick too. That's what I've come to realize, that digital nomads are natural problem solvers, and the workplace, the marketplace values problem solvers above anything else. Resiliency is important.
100%, Andrew. 100%. I mean, you touched point on that area, and especially being a problem solver, being someone who has collected so many experiences. And it truly sounds like in your voice, we can hear experience, we can hear someone who has been around, who provides a lot of value. Tell us a little bit more on what do you offer today in terms of services for your clients, something that probably listeners and people watching would be interested even in connecting further with you and getting to know more about your offerings.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can work as a remote worker, a digital nomad. I chose digital marketing years ago. I've been building YouTube channels for over 3 years now, or helping people build their YouTube channels and become an authority in their space and scale their channel. And up until recently, I was a consultant. I was a freelancer. I was someone that people would ping for strategy and advice on operations and execution. But until recently, that I no longer offer my services as a consultant. In the time of this recording, January 2022, I recently launched a full service YouTube marketing agency. I came to my senses over the last couple of years and realized that I was never going to be able to help all the YouTube channels that I know I'm able to help, because there's only so many hours in the day and there's only one of me. And so after some encouraging and some mentorship from some very successful business owners that I know and trust, they kind of nudged me and pushed me and said, what are you doing, Andrew? This is ridiculous. You need to launch an agency. I did some homework on some existing digital marketing agencies and very quickly realized that there's a massive gap in the marketplace. No offense to agencies that do SEO and social media and funnels and blah, blah, blah. They're all fantastic strategies. But in my experience, when you offer everything, then you're more of a generalist. You're not a specialist. That's why I came to the decision to roll out a full service YouTube marketing agency. We don't provide services for any other platform or anything else. The biggest mistake that I've noticed entrepreneurs and business owners make is that they treat YouTube as if it was social media. It's not social media. It's not. It's just not. So stop treating it like social media. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you're you think it's social media. It is the world's second largest search engine, owned by the world's #1 search engine. Treat it like a search engine, and it will shower you with more perfect leads than you could what to do with. So I launched an agency, and we specialize in amplifying the world's biggest solutions. What do I mean by that? We specifically help financial education, financial services, YouTube channels, because in my, especially with my background, I shared a little bit about my background at the beginning of this chat, and I was in a huge financial mess, newly divorced, tons of debt. I mean, tons of debt. And I needed to dig myself out of that mess. And I've ultimately, whether you're one of these people that says money can't buy happiness, or money buys things that brings me happiness, that's just besides the point. It's besides the point. The point is, nothing happens in life without somebody or someone or some entity paying for it. You can't put food in your mouth. You can't treat yourself with mental health or physical health. You can't impact more lives. You can't do anything without some monetary way to cover the expenses. And I, speaking to that, I need to quickly say this whole term self-made millionaire, self-made,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. I hate the term self-made. I hate it. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, and I apologize, but no one is self-made. No one is self-made. You had parents, you had teachers, you had mentors, you had employees, you have freelancers. No one is self-made. I'm sorry. Someone taught you how to speak. Someone taught you how to write. Someone paved the roads for you to drive on so you can get to your office. Like, there's no one on the planet is self-made. It's total BS. I hate it when people say that. It's like I mean, all the power to you to, all these amazing stories of people being homeless and now they're a millionaire or whatever. Like, I'm taking nothing against anyone who was able to take their life from nothing and turn it into something. But the term self-made is just absolute nonsense as far as I'm concerned. And because finances, whether we like it or not, is attached to every single aspect of life. Every single aspect.
Absolutely.
And
yes,
people who are struggling with this, that, or the other thing, there probably is a solution if you had enough money to pay for the solution. If you don't have enough time, well, hire an employee. If you don't like your fitness, hire a personal trainer or pay for a gym membership. If you don't like your diets, then hire a dietitian or a nutritionist. Correct. Or go to a more expensive, or how about this? Go to a grocery store and spend money on healthy food. Don't feed your mouth with a bunch of fast food. Yes, fast food is cheaper. Fast food is cheaper. This is why poor people have more health problems, because they're eating garbage. Stop eating garbage. Healthy food is more expensive. So go bring more value to the marketplace so that you can increase your income so that you can afford to buy healthy food. I love it. I'm passionate about this stuff, and that's why I made a YouTube agency about it.
Amazing, Andrew. I feel the energy that's passing through the screen, and I'm sure people listening and watching, this is Andrew, and feel free to reach out and connect. We'll be sharing also your contact and website link and all of that would be great. I'm sure you have so much useful content and information also, and services to provide, also for YouTubers listening to us, to be more specific. I mean, you've got Andrew. I mean, I'm sure with all this conversation, you're now aware of how much he can add value. And it's interesting because the way you describe it now with, problem and solution, it's like, when I look at someone or I look at a certain situation, I ask the person, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? And many times we are part of the problem, basically. And this is where we carry all the excuses and all the blaming. And, instead of being, okay, you know what? I know that there's a problem, but I'm already part of the solution. I'm already standing at the solution and I'm carrying the solution. However, I need help getting further there. And this is what I've been speaking with some coaches in my network. And I've been telling them, listen, I'm not part of the problem. Stop telling me how to get out of that. So it's really interesting.
And to add some color to that, if you're right. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And if you're neither of those, then you are still a part of the problem, because you're just, I'm sorry, but you're just whining and complaining. There's so many people out there. The analogy I use is weather. There's so many people out there that will moan and complain and whine about the weather. and it's like screaming at the sky, stop raiding, stop raiding. And I'm like 2 miles ahead of them because I left an hour ago when they started complaining, and I just grabbed an umbrella. And I just kept going. I'm like, why are you screaming at the sky? It's like the sky is going to listen to you. Like, all of these people complaining about their employer, complaining about the government with the lockdowns, and complaining about COVID. And if you have no way to influence or control those factors, then stop wasting your time. You're burning breath for no reasons. I take more of a stoic philosophy, a stoic approach to life, and I think that actually explains why I am where I am today, because I find creative solutions to difficult problems. And I'm 39, I'm going to be 40 years old this year. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm more financially successful than I've ever been in my life. I'm more wealthy with my relationships than I've ever been in my life, because I looked at where I was 3 years ago at rock bottom, and I took action when other people were more comfortable whining and complaining about so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. So you can't control what other people say and do, but you can control what you say and do. So stop complaining, pick your pants up, and take action. You know what the problem is. You've been telling me about it for the last hour. What's the solution? And it's stop yelling at the sky. Just grab an umbrella. Yeah. If you don't like some aspect about your life right now, whether maybe it's your job or your boss or whatever, then oh my God, there's so many online courses and YouTube videos and podcasts and books out there that will teach you how to become a remote worker or a digital nomad. And you can leave, like, I value experiences more than stuff. So I live a minimalist lifestyle because I don't like buying things. I would rather travel the world and do incredible things, like go on a hike around a volcano like I did last month. And just like that to me is more impactful and soul filling. And when I end up on my deathbed and I look back, am I going to have regrets? I probably will. Everyone's going to have regrets when they're on their deathbed, but I'm not going to regret nearly as much as someone else who bought a huge house and filled their house with all kinds of toys. And maybe that's what makes you happy. And if that's what makes you happy, then become a remote worker and you can work from home. And if you're happy being a minimalist, then maybe you want to be a digital nomad and travel the world like I do. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Terrible expression, but still, it's applicable. Yeah, I went off a bit of a tangent there too. But problem solvers get a lot further in the marketplace than people who are just going to whine about problems.
Wow. And this is also cultural. I mean, you can tell probably the fact that you've traveled a lot, you've seen different cultures, and also it's part of the culture. It's part of the population also within a country. Some tend to be more in a complaining, mode, rather than some which are more really, looking for the solution. And so how was that for you? Like, how do you feel right now with being in Costa Rica? How is the culture around that?
I love it here. I'm pursuing getting my residency and giving up my Canadian residency. I want to be a Costa Rican resident. And that's I chose that for a lot of reasons. But as far as the cultural differences, I'm definitely an outsider here. I'm definitely learning. I'm on my Duolingo app learning Spanish every single day, and I chose Costa Rica for a lot of reasons. Speaking on the financial component first, because we were just talking about that recently, I did a lot of homework. I talked about online courses recently. I took an online course for digital nomads that teaches people how to set up themselves with a global tax strategy to legally reduce their tax burden. And I was a novice and I didn't know anything about this stuff. And I came to the realization that certain countries around the world are called territorial tax countries, which means they only tax you on your local income. And Costa Rica is one of those countries that's a territorial tax country. So I've come to the decision to give up my Canadian residency, get my Costa Rican residency, because all of the income that I make, foreign income outside of Costa Rica, is now tax-free. That is a legal strategy that multiple people take advantage of. Countless people take advantage of every single year. And it's one of those strategies that in times past was reserved to like the ultra wealthy, because they were able to travel around the world and get multiple residencies and passports and this all now. But now we live in a global village. And so I chose to come to a territorial tax country so that I can legally reduce my tax burden. these strategies that were once reserved for the ultra wealthy are now available to all of us because we have this beautiful thing called the internet. You can become a remote worker, a digital nomad, and you can literally, you don't like your government for whatever decisions they're doing? Great, leave.
Yeah.
Stop complaining about the government. Andrew Henderson, a very, very successful entrepreneur, has an amazing YouTube channel called Nomad Capitalist. Go check it out. I use his YouTube channel all the time for references. He's an American, so in a slightly different situation than me, because every country taxes their citizens, their residents in different ways. However, he's got a really great YouTube channel and talks about a lot of the advantages of going where you're treated best. That's his slogan, his tagline: go where you're treated best. So again, if you're one of those people that's going to complain about your municipality, your state, your provincial government, or your federal government, well, we live in a beautiful world with internet that allows you to go anywhere. I chose Costa Rica. You can choose whatever country that best suits you. And when it comes to the cultural differences, it's a beautiful thing. I'm Canadian. I love being from Canada. I love telling people I'm from Canada. I always get a positive reaction. And I love learning about cultural differences. I think that's part of being a digital nomad. Something about getting off a plane and tasting food that I've never tasted before, hearing an accent that I've never heard before, hearing jokes that I've never heard before, hearing stories that I've never heard before. There's something empowering about that, and it makes you appreciate the beautiful world that we live in. I will travel this world until the day I die, and I will still not see enough. I love the cultural differences that I'm always exposed to when I live this kind of lifestyle. I think Costa Ricans are a beautiful people. They're a hardworking people, and it was an easy decision to come here. And within 3 months, I decided to get my residency. But yeah, if you're asking if there's been any cultural like headaches or difficulties, no, can't really say that. I've been learning Spanish on my Duolingo app every single day because I chose to live in a Spanish-speaking country. I consider it my obligation to learn their language. I would never expect just speak English every day to everybody. And if I want to really immerse myself in the culture and really understand the people here, then I need to put in the effort to learn the language. Learning a new language at 39 is not easy, but I'm still trying.
You got this. You got this, Andrew. Amazing, very inspiring, and also knowing that you're really happy where you are now. This is definitely a proof that you're making right decisions and you're actually part of the solution. Tell us a little bit more about you as Andrew. What motivates you in the morning? What gets you up and running? What is it like?
There's so many ways I can take that answer. I surround myself with very intentional, very successful, very motivated people, because it's maybe cliche to say this, but just because it's a cliche doesn't mean it's not true. You are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. You want to improve your health, start hanging out with healthy people. You want to improve your finances, start hanging out with more wealthy people. And so because your standards will rise in accordance to the people that you surround yourself with. Okay. If I need to recharge the batteries and have a lazy day, yeah, that happens from time to time, but most weeks I'm pretty active. Most weeks I'm training and working out 3, 4, 5 times a week and working on my business and supporting my employees. There's a fantastic YouTuber by the name of Evan Carmichael. He's out of Toronto. Go check out the Evan Carmichael YouTube channel. He does post amazing content, and he recently, or a couple of years ago, authored a book, Built to Serve. Built to Serve. I have the audiobook. I've listened to it a couple of times. I highly recommend that to your audience as well, because he believes that people are here to serve. And when you show up, get out of bed every day with the mentality, the mindset that you're here to deliver, bring value, deliver on your promises, to show up in the marketplace in a way that no one else can show up, then you're going to be jumping out of bed and doing cartwheels every single day. If you have a bad day, and we're all there, everybody gets a bad day occasionally. I promise you can immediately turn things around if you find a way to serve another human being. If you find a way to solve someone else's problem or make their lives better, you can immediately turn things around. Gratefulness cannot exist in your mind the same time as scarcity, lack, fear. Fear only exists in your mind. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It's not. If you're feeling fearful, it's because you're overly anxious or worried about something that hasn't yet happened. It hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
And the past is gone. You can't do anything about influencing the past. The only thing we can choose and influence is right now. So you listening to this video, you listening to this podcast, you watching this YouTube video right now, you are making a choice to keep watching this content because you find it helpful. And we are doing the very best job we can to bring you value. That's the only reason why I exist. That's the only reason why I agreed to doing this interview, because I believe I can bring value and share my story. And maybe you're watching this because you're at rock bottom. Maybe you're in a very dark place. And I'm sorry that you're there, but I promise you you're not going to be there forever. Because life isn't static. You're either growing or you're dying. You're either improving or you're lowering your standards. Life is not static. Even if you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, you're still burning calories. Your body is still changing. It might not be changing for the better. It might be changing for the worse, but your body is still changing. Make no mistake. So when it comes to getting out of bed in the morning, that's the best way I can take that answer for you and your audience. Like if you don't have the desire to get out of bed, figure out a way you can solve someone else's problem, bring them value, make their lives better somehow. Maybe it's hiring an employee, maybe it's scratching someone's back. I don't like making your child a sandwich. I don't like, it could be anything. Just do something for another human being. And take a look at who you're surrounding yourself with, because you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And yes, I know that we're all dealing with some certain challenges right now in social distancing and everything. But guess what? There are so many virtual communities out there, Facebook groups, Zoom chats, masterminds. So like the options are endless. If you are watching this right now, you have an internet connection and you have a device that allows you to connect to the internet. So you have no excuse. If you're listening to my voice right now, you can connect with people virtually. I know it's not the same. But it's still moving in the right direction. It's moving a needle in a way that's going to support you. Are you doing something today that your future self is going to thank you for? Or is your future self going to look back at this current moment and say, why did I waste that time? Because you're a steward of your time. No one else is. How you invest your time is everything. And are you getting better or are you getting worse? Are you reading books? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you watching YouTube videos that are going to help you move the needle and become a better version of yourself? Or are you just wasting time? Because you might be watching content that just wastes time.
Wow, big time. Amazing, Andrew. Oof, so much energy and power in your advice, and this truly reflects on your story and your experiences and everything you've been through. So if you were to give your younger self an advice, what would you tell the younger Andrew today?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's never a bad question. I feel like I probably answer this question slightly different every time I'm asked this question, but I have to say that the young Andrew needs to be less worried about making mistakes. The younger Andrew needs to make more mistakes faster, bigger, because we do learn from our mistakes. The only way you get a muscle is by damaging the muscle tissue, and then the muscle tissue will regrow stronger. The more fibers will replace the old fibers, and the fibers that regrow will be stronger and bigger. That's why when you work out, you get a bigger muscle. But it's that stress and that pressure. When astronauts come back to space, they're always weak, right? Because their muscles haven't been working as hard as they normally do when they're under the force of Earth's gravity. When they're in space for a month or whatever, they come back. Studies have shown that their muscle is fatigued, their bone density has decreased and everything. So the human body, the mind and the body both need pressure. And then it's the reaction to that pressure that will allow you, will help you develop the tools to handle tomorrow's stresses. The world is always going to throw stress at you, whether you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth or you're born on a bathroom floor. I don't care what situation you're in, what circumstances you have, the world is going to throw you curveballs. The world is going to throw challenges and obstacles your way, and it's how you react to those challenges. That's what's going to define the quality of your life. 90% of your life is a direct result of how you reacted to challenges, and 10% is actually what happens to you. So stop whining and complaining about what happens to you, because I'm sorry that it's just fault and responsibility are completely different. Will Smith talks about this in some of his content. Fault and responsibility it's not your fault that someone did or said something that put you in a bad place, but it's your responsibility to get yourself out of that mess. It's your heart, it's your happiness that you are responsible for. No one else has that responsibility for your happiness. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news here, but if someone wronged you, okay, lesson learned. You know, wrong, what's the saying? Wrong me once, shame on you. Wrong me twice, shame on me.
Right.
So let's apply that to our lives. Don't pay it lip service. Actually behave in such a way to lessen the times that you're putting so much power in someone else's hands that they could do or say something that will negatively impact your life in such a terrible way. You know, whether you like it or not, you are where you're at right now based off of the sum total of the decisions you've made in your entire life, whether you're successful or not, or in shape or not, or I'm sorry, but you're here because of the sum total of the decisions that you made in your life. And the quicker you understand that, the quicker you realize that, then the quicker you're going to capture the control that so few people have. Like I'm in the best place in my life right now, because I made a decision 3 years ago to stop pushing the blame away, and I looked at the mirror and I said, it's my responsibility to improve my life here. It's no one else's. You have to stop paying attention to the naysayers out there and the people that they're worried about their own problems in their own lives. Like, stop paying attention to the outsiders. Pay attention to yourself, your mindset. Remind yourself that you're built to serve. You're here to make life better for everyone. Rising tide raises all ships. And go out there and just make more mistakes. That's what I would tell my younger self. Go out there and make more mistakes. I'm only where I'm at today because I've made a ton of mistakes. It's the only reason why I'm here. Not because I'm older or wiser than you, or no, I made more mistakes than you. That's why if I'm in a better place than you, it's because I made more mistakes. And if someone is in a better place than me, if they're wealthier, if they're in better shape, if they have a large successful business, if they have an amazing relationship with their partner, if they wherever they're at, if they're more successful than me, it's only because they've made more mistakes than me. I got to make more mistakes.
That's so beautiful. And talking about mistakes with so much, you're very humble in the way you say it. Give us an example of making a mistake. What would, someone who's now trying to get out of their comfort zone, or someone who's really, stuck in a way and they maybe need to take some risk. What is the type of mistake or an example that you could share with us?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, the most relevant example I can give you is that I just recently came to a very scary decision to end being a consultant. I've been a consultant for 3 years, or over 3 years, and I'm no longer a consultant, no longer a freelancer. Now I'm a business owner. Now I am a founder, a CEO. Yeah. You mentioned that you're going to include my links below. You can go to ytera.com. YTERA.com stands for YouTube era, because I believe we're in the YouTube era. When you want to search for something, you go to Google. When you want to learn about something, most people are conditioned to go to YouTube to answer the problem to their question or learn a new skill. And I firmly believe in how, like, making mistakes is how human beings tend to learn. Repetition is the mother of skill. So doing something over and over again, or reading something over and over again, or watching something or listening to something over and over again until it finally sinks in, knowing that's how we all learn. That's how you're going to be able to move the needle. I chose to no longer be a consultant and become a founder, which meant hiring a team. And I love my team. Oh my God, they're amazing. They're epic people. And the reason why I took that path is because I want to impact more YouTube channels in a positive way. And like I mentioned earlier, a solopreneur with only so many hours in a day I can only bring this much value. But if I hire a team and duplicate myself and develop processes and systems that are able to duplicate success in a reliable way, well, now I can help this many YouTube channels, when as a solopreneur, I can only help a tiny fraction. So that was a scary moment for me, especially when it came to time to hire my first full-time employee, because I had a terrible mindset that I had to fix. I thought that no one would care about my clients' YouTube channels as much as I do. And that was a failing on my part. I thought that only I could bring the goods, only I could bring value And that was so naive of me. I was so stupid to think that I wouldn't be able to hire rock star team members that cared about my clients' channels just as much as I do, and if not more. And so I had to overcome everything's mindset, everything's perspective. And I convinced myself that I couldn't hire a team, that I wasn't a great leader. And then I realized, no, I'm telling myself a story. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. You know, you want to change your outcome, change your circumstances, change the story that you tell yourself. And I had to consciously tell myself that there are amazing people out there in the marketplace and I can hire them. And some of them are going to be incredibly talented and skilled in areas that I'm terrible at.
Yes.
So why not hire people that are amazing at what they do, and that they can double down and triple down on their unique value proposition, so that I can grow a team and scale a company that can help more YouTube channels, and in my case specifically financial education, financial services YouTube channels, because I know I can impact the world in a more meaningful way if I can help more Canadians and Americans and people around the globe solve their financial problems. Because when they solve their financial problems, they can impact every aspect of their life. And a rising tide raises all ships. So now my team is building my clients' YouTube channels, not me. And my team can pump out much more content than I ever could on my own. And I can attract more clients than I ever could on my own. And my clients are pumping out more videos than I ever could do on my own. And those videos are reaching more and more viewers and more subscribers. And so now there's this ripple effect. So every passing day, there are more and more videos being added to my clients' YouTube channels, impacting lives in a positive way. Nothing against entertainment. Entertainment is super important. Entertainment, everyone needs to laugh. Laughter is super healing. But I focus on thought leadership. I focus on video content that answers the world's hardest problems around financial situations. And it just happens to be what I'm passionate about. And it's super easy to jump out of bed and deliver value in the marketplace when you're passionate about something, when you're proficient about something, and it's profitable. Those are the 3 Ps. And if you can find a niche or an industry or a company that you want to be a part of that is a perfect amalgamation of those 3 Ps, you have to be passionate about it. It's got to be profitable. If it's not profitable, you have a hobby. And you need to be proficient. You need to be actually good at what you do, right? Like you actually need to invest in yourself and read the books and listen to the podcasts and watch the YouTube videos so that you can develop a skill set, test your theory, test your new skill that you just learned. And then if it works out positively, great, keep doing it. If it fails, then discard it, move on. I'm only an amazing YouTube marketer today because I study from all the greats. I've studied from Roberto Blake. If you don't mind, I'll quickly rattle off some of the best YouTubers that I'm from. So Roberto Blake, Daryl Eves, he has an amazing book called The YouTube Formula. You got to check it out if you're into YouTube marketing. Sean Cannell, Think Media, Stephen James, Project Life Mastery. I could go on and on and on. There's so many great YouTubers. And what I've done is I've read their books, I've listened to their podcasts, I've watched their YouTube videos, I've taken their courses, and I pick and choose what I believe it will work, and I test it. And if it works, great, I absorb it into my systems, my models. And then when I test something, if something fails, I discard it. I for whatever reason, it didn't work for me. Maybe it worked for this individual, but it doesn't work for me. For you watching this or listening to this episode right now, you're going to be able to pick and choose certain things that I said and shared with you, and you'll be able to apply it, and you're going to find success. You're not going to find success in absolutely everything that I shared with you in this interview. You're just not. Because you need to pick and choose certain things that you've heard me share with you and disclose with you on this call. And then you're going to take something else from someone else and take something else from someone else. And you're going to form your own strategy that has to, it's like baking a cake. If you don't put every single ingredient at the right time and follow the instructions, then you're not going to get a cake at the end of the day, right? For me, a particular formula worked. This formula might be applicable to you, it might not. Maybe you need to remove something, add a couple things. It might be a completely different formula, but I'm a firm believer that anyone can achieve success. I'm a firm believer that anyone can achieve success. And if you have the right positive mindset, you surround yourself with the right people, and you show up to serve in the marketplace with that mindset, and you're grateful, then no one's going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. The world is an exciting place right now. I know it can be a really fearful place. I know it can be, a lot of people are frightened and scared and frustrated because so many things have negatively impacted their lives, and it's beyond their influence, beyond their control. And I get that. But if you focus on the problems, you're just going to get more problems. Focus on all the joy and happiness that exists that we're surrounded by in life right now. Because what you focus on is what you're going. The example that everyone loves to share is like when they buy a new shirt or buy a new car, and they buy a Tesla and then they drive around and now they're seeing all these Teslas. No, the Teslas were always there. You didn't have your own Tesla, so you didn't think, you weren't looking for it the same way with the same eyes. And so now you see Teslas everywhere because now you're driving your first Tesla. It could be something as silly as that. And if you're going to focus on all the hate and destructive energy in the world right now, we live in a very divisive world, unfortunately. There's a lot of hate out there. If you focus on those aspects, you're going to get a lot more of that. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of joy in the world. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. And if you focus on Serge's podcast like this, then you're gonna get your daily positive shot that we all need. Forget, you can talk about vaccination shots, but you can talk about your positive injections too, and you need a positive injection.
Exactly, Andrew, you're amazing, and just like touching on gratitude as well. I mean, you're very comfortable with gratitude because you've mentioned that also throughout your different stories, and how you feel very connected to the things that you have, and also focus, and how where focus goes, energy flows as well. But that's really true, and it's a beautiful reminder. So thank you for sharing with the listeners and people watching. Once again, ytera.com. That's where you will find Andrew's amazing work. And
that's the YouTube agency. And if you're
Correct.
not interested in it, and if you watching this or listening to this right now, you're not interested in a YouTube marketing agency, that's totally fine, because the point of this call wasn't really YouTube marketing, but we did touch on it. You can find me on any social media platform. I think I'm Mr. Andrew Murdoch on every platform, because I couldn't get Andrew Murdoch. So
yes.
And probably, if I'm being honest, LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to reach me, because in my opinion, there's just a lot less silliness on LinkedIn.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Awesome, Andrew. With all these stories, we're gonna get to one question that you've asked me over a year ago when we were actually on your podcast. I have to mention this to our listeners, people watching. So Andrew has his YouTube channel with his podcast as well, which is called Digital Nomad Network.
Journey.
Journey.
I have a YouTube channel called Digital Nomad Journey. If you're looking to learn to be a digital nomad or remote worker, I definitely check it out. However, I'm guilty, and I'm going to admit this to your listeners and viewers now, that I am like the car mechanic who doesn't work on his own car, because I did just launch a brand new business, so that's my baby right now, and that's where all my time and attention is going. But I look forward to getting back to creating content on Digital Nomad Journey too, because it's an important subject, and I think a lot of people, like I said, becoming a digital nomad really saved me. It really saved me and got me out of a really dark time in my life. And and maybe if you're in a dark time in your life, you watching this video right now, maybe becoming a digital nomad will add value to you like it did to me. Maybe not, but a lot of people are desperate to learn how to be a digital nomad these days, and so I'm committed to building a channel that will add value to people in that way. And I need to get back to hitting the record button.
Amazing, Andrew. And that question that you've asked me also in our interview really stuck in my mind, and I'm going to ask it again to you today. So we are all heroes. Some of us don't wear capes. Who are you a hero to?
Yeah, I love that question. That's why I ask it too. Yeah. I'm a hero to anyone who is in a dark place. I'm a hero to you if you're at rock bottom, and even if the solutions that I've presented and shared, if they're not applicable to you, I suspect some of them are. I really doubt that nothing that I've shared in this discussion would help. I think there would be probably some points in here that you'll be able to pull out and apply to your life, and you'll see a positive change. However, just know that if you're in a dark place, it's not going to be that way forever. I know that the marketplace is a funny thing. When things are terrible, people assume that things are going to be terrible forever. When things are amazing and abundant, people assume things are going to be amazing and abundant forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. The good times don't last forever. The bad times don't last forever. So just keep putting one foot in front of another, and get out of bed and make some changes in your life that your positive self will be thankful for. I made some very difficult decisions 3 years ago that I'm so grateful that I had the courage to make, because I don't want to know where I would be right now if I didn't have the courage to make those decisions. It's scary when you're anytime you're doing something for the first time or deciding to end a marriage like I did. It's a very scary time. And I'm not going to take that away from you. No one's going to take that away from you if you have to make some scary decisions. But just look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself an honest question that, like, will your future self be grateful that you made this tough call? Or is your future self going to be just shaking your head at your own self because you didn't have the guts, you didn't have the courage to make the tough call when you should have made the tough call? And sometimes that means cutting someone out of your life. Sometimes that means quitting your job. Sometimes that means stop going to fast food restaurants. Sometimes whatever the decision that you're faced with right now, if you're in a bad place, it's not going to be like that forever. I remember this is what I want to say. I got this from Tony Robbins too. Oftentimes people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. And it was only 3 years ago when I was at rock bottom and I had more debt than I cared to admit. And my personal life was a mess. And like I was in a bad place. And I just had to make small decisions time and time again that were putting me on the right path. And then those smaller decisions led to bigger decisions, And now here I am where I'm at. And I'm telling you, I don't want to think about where I would be right now if I didn't make those tough calls 3 years ago, because it would have been a really, really bad life. And I actively changed that. So if you are in a dark place, you're at rock bottom right now, you might not know you are, because like I said earlier in this, you don't have the perspective. Eventually you're going to have the perspective. And you might be thinking about back to this chat that Serge and I had, or you might be thinking of a really difficult decision that you had to make, and maybe it was painful, but at the end of the day, you got to be honest with yourself, and you're going to be held accountable to yourself at the end of the day. So that's what I want to share with you if you're in a dark place right now, because that's who I would like to be a hero to.
Wow, Andrew, that's truly touching, and just the words, be honest to yourself and accountable and responsible. This is really an invitation for everyone listening and watching, just to take a moment and to think about that. Really, it's powerful. Thank you, Andrew. And we've come to our last section. This is going to be the fast cues. So basically, you've got one word or a very short sentence to answer a question. All right. Are you ready for that?
Okay, fire away.
Okay. What is the meaning of life?
Giving.
Giving. We are put on this earth for what reason?
Serving.
Serving. What is destiny?
Freedom.
What is true happiness?
What is true happiness? Ooh, that's a good one. True happiness is love.
Love. Nice. Do you believe in afterlife or reincarnation, or?
I believe in being a good person and respecting the image in the mirror and knowing that my future self is going to be thankful for the things that I do today. That's what I believe in. I don't consider myself intelligent enough or wise enough to make any kind of assumptions about an afterlife or reincarnation. I think those ideas, those stories are amazing and uplifting. However, I like to remind myself that I'm a peon in the universe.
Yeah.
that like I can inspire change, and I can certainly, an individual can certainly, we're surrounded by countless examples of inspirational people that stood up against adversity and were able to change the world in a positive way. But I also like to humble myself and remind myself that I'm a peon at the end of the day. And if there is an afterlife, awesome. If there is reincarnation, great.
Yes.
But yeah, I prefer to again, that's like thinking about I prefer to live in the now. I
Right.
have more of a stoic philosophy, and I like to live in the now with an eye on the future, but I don't consider myself wise enough to make any kind of assumptions.
Beautiful, Andrew. Beautiful. Very humbling. Very humbling. What is true mindfulness?
True mindfulness is self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you want me to elaborate, I would say like that would be how I could probably summarize our entire conversation. Self-awareness is knowing where you are now, where you used to be, and where you want to be, and recognizing that you're the only person that has the influence and the power to change your life. Nobody else does. That's the truth.
True. 100%. What does it mean to be present?
What does it mean to be present? I'm going to say respecting yourself and your loved ones. Just being that, to me, that's what it means to be present. Respecting yourself and your loved ones. Yeah.
That's beautiful. This is the first time we get, that's the first time I get that answer. It's a really true one. And how would you describe God?
Abundance.
Abundance.
I would say God, the universe, whatever word you want to use, I would say is absolute abundance. Yeah.
Awesome, Andrew. You were amazing, and I'm sorry to say we're at our final bonus question. Well, and this is like, what question have I not asked you today, and which could be a great way to end this amazing podcast?
That's always a wonderful question to end in a chat with. I think I recently had a painful reminder to always trust my gut, and not that this would have been a question for you to ask, but yeah, I would love to. I had recently had a situation where I was working with someone who negatively impacted conversations through being less than trustworthy. Like the trust was questioned, unfortunately, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a really sad thing when lies come to light and someone's true colors come to light because you found out that they lied. Always be mindful of how. Like basically, what I'm trying to say is always be mindful of who is in your inner circle, and making sure you're only allowing yourself come close to people who are, no matter the cost, no matter the circumstances, will respect you enough to be truthful, and someone who is consistently themselves no matter who is in their company. I've noticed, unfortunately, sometimes people can be kind of two-faced. Maybe two-faced is the wrong term, but I've noticed certain individuals are one way with some people and another way with other people and another way with other people. And that should be a warning sign. That should be a warning sign that whether you are connected to them in your personal life or your professional life, that should be like a big red flag. And the universe is kind of saying, like, do you want this person in your life? Should you maybe love from a distance? Should you maybe put a little bit of a separation there? Because you can always love from a distance. And be careful around people who cause you to question their integrity and their honesty, and listen to your gut. That's what I would say. It's unfortunate that sometimes these things happen, but I do believe that the bad apples are a very, very small minority of the human population. I believe the majority of people on the planet today are humble and giving and positive and loving. And it's unfortunate that we live in the kind of world where sometimes a few bad apples ruin the fun for the rest of us. But be very, very mindful around those bad apples. So, yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful, Andrew. Amazing. You've been amazing, and thank you so much. Thank you for all the wisdom and the insights and the stories and the experiences. Guys, if you're still here, if you're still watching and listening, as Andrew said earlier, you've taken that time, and that was part also of all the decision and the choices that you've done to be here. So thank you, a big thank you to you. We're very grateful here. And Andrew, once again, always a pleasure to connect with you. To reach out and connect with Andrew, so he's on all the social media platforms, and his website on YouTube, the YouTube agency is ytera.com. Andrew, thank you again. I can't stop saying thank you, because this was such a delightful moment together. And I'm looking forward to connecting again. So maybe around the globe or anything. But yeah, sending you much love, and take care, and have an amazing day.
This was fun. Thank you so much, Serge. You
This
too.
was fun
Take
as
care.
well. Yes, take care.